Hello, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope your day is going well. Should be an interesting day indeed. We have a number of events that are taking place that you're going to want to know about. I'm going to get to those in just a bit. But before I do, let us get into our dream spell date for today. Today is called a Blue Resonant Storm. Blue Resonant Storm guided by the monkey. Blue is the color of transformation. Resonant tone is tone number 7. It's called the resonant tone of attunement. The storm is the guide is the symbol for today, or the kin, and the storm is all about a gathering of energy. And then, of course, the monkey, the guide, is all about the power of magic. Altogether, the phrase is I channel in order to catalyze inspiring energy. I seal the matrix of self-generation with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of magic. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, November 8th, 2011. Now, for those of you who are new to the show or wondering what it is I do at the beginning, I read off this date. It's from the Dream Spell calendar. The Dream Spell calendar is the Mayan calendar, but with some corrections and adjustments made to it by Jose Argelis, who helped us to understand that there were some things that we needed to look at that were a little different than what the Mayan calendar had originally put out. And I periodically like to do a refresher course on what this is about. So next week I'm going to be talking about the Dream Spell calendar and the Mayan calendar, the Mayans, to give you an update about what they are about in regards to 2012 and so on. But needless to say, what this is, it's just like a daily astrological reading, something of that nature. And every day I read a phrase that's associated with the day. And you just listen to what that's about. You can go and download this. It's a little application. It's at our website, firstcontactradio.com. You can download it absolutely free. And you just look at the little reading for the day, and it kind of helps understand where the energy of the day is flowing. I channel in order to catalyze inspiring energy. I seal the matrix of self-generation with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of magic. And though you may not know what that is, your subconscious will understand the meanings of these things, and the more you work with this and understand how the whole system works, the more it will help you to understand how you operate within it. So that's just some very, very basics, but I will get into that next week along with 2012 so we can keep you informed and up to date about what's going on. Now, Dirk Bradshaw is with us today, and he has a story about a hum that's being heard all around the world. So Dirk, over to you.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw, and in certain parts of the world, groups of people from all walks of life claim to hear a continuous hum. Yet, not everyone can hear this noise, and there's no hard proof of its existence. Tune in and learn more about this mysterious hum. That's what we got for you, boys and girls. Stay tuned. You're really going to want to know this.
And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
In today's crowded world, silence is rare. It's tough to avoid the noise of cars, aircraft, and other machines. And, according to some people, if you really listen, you'll hear something else. They believe a strange and ceaseless hum resonates across the world, baffling its listeners. Where does it come from? Why can't everyone hear it? And most importantly, what is the hum? Here are the facts. Mainstream America learned of the hum in the 1990s, when the University of New Mexico investigated homeowner complaints of an unceasing hum in Taos, New Mexico. British newspapers have been reporting the hum since the 1970s, but this was the first time the story garnered national attention in the U.S. More reports surfaced from across the world. The hum is a constant, low-frequency noise. Its listeners say it sounds like a machine in the distance, and that it can be sensed as a vibration. Headphones do not block this sound. While this may sound like an auditory hallucination, some sort of mass hysteria, the consequences are physical. Hearers report chronic fatigue, headaches, and other symptoms. Not everyone can hear the hum, but those who do find the noise excruciating. In the United Kingdom, the hum has been linked to at least one suicide. Auditory experts have determined that victims don't suffer from tinnitus or other hearing deficiencies. Dr. David Baguli, head of audiology at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, attributes about a third of the hum cases to an environmental source. But what about the other two-thirds? Some researchers blame gravitational waves, electric grids, tectonic plates, or even ocean waves. But to other theorists, these mundane explanations are a smokescreen. Here's where it gets crazy. Some victims of the hum have become conspiracy theorists. Many theories center on secret government bases. In New Mexico, conspiracy investigators write reports of secret Navy bases beaming exotic frequency waves through the planet. According to these theorists, the government assumed that no one could detect these frequencies. Other researchers blame antennae. Depending on where you live, you're probably surrounded by television, radio, and cellular antennae, inundating your body with invisible energy waves. If these antennae are causing the hum, then it makes sense that we can't pin the sound to a single source. Other researchers believe the CIA conducts mind control experiments, using ultra-low frequency waves to modify the behavior of test subjects. Some theorists point to the story of Medford, Oregon as proof of a conspiracy. Researchers allege that in the early 70s, this small town became the suicide capital of the United States. According to the story, investigators found that ultra-low frequencies were sent into town from a government base. When investigators tried to follow up with officials, they were threatened and told to stay silent. To skeptics, this story doesn't hold up. Surely if this were true, we would have heard more about it. Some people who hear the hum believe it signals the onset of premonitions. Others blame extraterrestrials. Some theories are more plausible than others, but one thing's for sure. The hum continues. At the behest of the Dow residents, Congress investigated the hum in 1997. The results? Inconclusive. Are the skeptics correct in blaming the hum on natural phenomena, like gravity and electric fields? Or is there something they don't want you to know?
You know, when you get married, they don't tell you this, but you lose a bunch of your friends right off the bat there. And then when you have kids and you have a family and that's starting to take up a lot of your attention, then you lose a bunch of friends then too. And then your career and just life in general. And you look at your life and you look at your friends and you realize that, holy cow, my best friend is Newsbot 3000. And he's a computer. Which I don't mind, because I can actually program Newsbot 3000 to have conversations with me that I enjoy having, which I don't have with normal friends. So, yeah, I'd say my best friend is a computer that I have to program to like me. Oh, man, I can't believe it's over. Where does the time go? Well, I see the fat lady's off the stage. She's looking right at me. It's time for me to go put her to bed. I hate goodbyes. So instead I'm going to say, until we meet again, I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Next up on the Cosmic News Network, it's the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. All right, our UFO news for today, we're going to start things off with Roger Marsh over at the Examiner. And this is the traffic report for today, Tuesday, November 8th, 2011. Traffic report for Tuesday, November 8th, 2011 includes 3 disc UFO cases from 3 states with low UFO traffic elsewhere as reported in 6 selected recent reports from 4 states, as filed with the Mutual UFO Network Witness Reporting Database during the past 24 hours. The UFO shapes seen to run in waves across the country. Higher numbers of triangles were seen over the summer months. We have a recent spur of rectangle-shaped objects popping up that does not seem to be over yet, and now the return of the disc lately. Witnesses in Connecticut and Texas report observing disc UFOs on November 5th, 2011, while an Indiana witness filed a report on November 6, 2011. At 6 a.m. on the 5th, the Texas witness reports taking photos when the disc appeared in the frame, and then the object moved out of frame and disappeared, in case 33195. Then at 2:14 p.m. in Connecticut, the witness was driving along a country road in broad daylight when a white disc was noticed about 3/4 of a mile away, in case 33188. The object was all white with no features, the witness stated. No windows, no wings or tail structure, no cabin crew. Beneath it, a blimp, like a blimp would have. As a private pilot, I'm used to seeing all sorts of aircraft, including helicopters, since Sikorsky builds them nearby. It looks kind of like a white mushroom cap. Then the next day, November 6, 2011, an Evansville, Indiana parent and daughter report a classic saucer shape with multicolored lights flashing and rotating at 8 p.m., and that was 100 feet in the air, and that was case 33190. The thing slowed to almost a stop just above us, then slowly continued flying east, the witness stated. As I got further away, we kept watching, and it seemed to stop and hover again, closer to Newburgh, Indiana. All right, that is over at the Examiner. Our next story comes to us from latest-UFOsightings.net, and this article talks about, it says, researchers believe city lights could reveal intelligent alien civilization. Intelligent life can easily be determined in Earth from space because of the visible city lights on the dark side of it. Abraham Loeb and Edwin Turner from Harvard University and Princeton University, respectively, are saying that other civilization could also be discovered in a similar way. The two think that the traditional way of searching other intelligent life, which is searching radio signals, may not be working well. One factor in searching alien radio signals is that television transmissions do not travel that far, contrary to popular belief. Humans are currently generating less residual energy with the development of optical fiber. The two researchers assume that other civilizations may have done the same thing, making it more difficult for scientists to search radio signals and proving alien civilization. The idea is to look for a particular type of light that would be different from the natural light emitted through the local stars. However, two scientists admitted that the current telescope technology is not capable to search for city lights in other planets, as it is still not sensitive enough. Nevertheless, they believe that the development of telescope capable of doing what might come sooner than expected. Now, for those of you who are not aware, we had Stephen Bassett on the show not too long ago, and we were talking about UFO disclosure. Well, he has a petition that has been up online. People signed the petition, and now it's before the White House. You may be hearing this in the news. And the White House has yet to respond. Let me go and read this to you here. It says the White House has responded to the disclosure petition. The final signature count was 12,078. As expected, it was written by the low-level staffer from the Office of Science and Technology, Policy Research Assistant Phil Larson. The response was unacceptable. The response page includes a feedback option. Much feedback is likely. Paradigm Research Group will address the White House response on Monday, November 7th via an international press release and op-ed submissions to various newspapers. In short, while PRG will begin to pre-promote a new petition relevant to the disclosure process, the petition will then be submitted to We the People, and an effort will be made to garnish the 25,000 signatures in 30 days, the new threshold required for another formal response. Those who have signed previously will not have to register again to sign the next petition. Paradigm Research Group, otherwise known as PRG, will continue to keep the disclosure issue front and center with its attempt at participatory democracy by the Obama administration. And you can go to paradigmresearchgroup.org to stay informed about what's going on with them. Now, it's a very big issue, this whole disclosure. You know, the governments of the world are kind of hedging on this. They seem to think that the populations, the people, aren't going to be able to accept the existence of aliens. Well, I don't understand why that would be. It's a power game. They think that if they don't say anything, the power stays in their hands, because they still believe that everybody listens exactly to what they say, and that's really not the case. There are those who do listen, those who turn on the magic box in their home and believe every word that comes out of it. But if you actually turn into the internet and other sources of information, you find that disclosure has already gone on for the majority of the people out there who are already studying. They understand. Now, as Stephen Bassett calls it, this disclosure with a little d. What we're looking for here is the disclosure with the big D. We would like to see the governments of the world acknowledge this, because then it makes it a bit more accessible for everybody who isn't normally going to places like the internet to actually find out for themselves. So we're hoping for the big D disclosure. That will make it, that'll be a good thing. And our last bit of information today is a video, comes for us from extremerealitycheck.com, and this is about the Nephilim. Now, the Nephilim, you heard about them in the Bible. They are those who came down and were said to have taken the daughters of men and created a race of the angels came down and they got together with the ladies on the planet and they created these giant beings. So this video here shows all sorts of examples of these skulls and bones that have been found that are a bit more than what we are normally used to seeing. So check these out. I am going to play things a little differently here, because those of you who are out there at Blog Talk can't see what is going on. So let me fix this for you here. I'm going to play this and read along so you understand. All right, it says that the Bible warns us that the hold on. All right, what we've seen so far is various different examples of skulls and so on. It says the Bible warns us that the remnants of these Nephilim races, which we call aliens, are actually evil hybrids. And they contaminated our gene pool in ancient history, prompting the Great Flood to cleanse the earth, except for Noah's pure lineage. The ancient records clearly state that aliens are supernatural spawns of humans and demons, and that's from Genesis. They have always plotted to create and eventually contact humankind.
Genetically and biologically and very closely to chimpanzees and somewhat more distantly to gorillas and orangutans and gibbons. But chimpanzees are our closest genetic and biological relatives. So we are primates. We are all considered primates, all of us in the primate family, the chimps and the gorillas and us. The problem is we really don't share any of the basic fundamental primate traits. All primates have 48 chromosomes, and we have 46. Now, how do you lose 2 whole chromosomes from where you are and produce a being that is so much more skilled and adapted, particularly intellectually, as we are? You would think if we're going to be such a vast improvement over the primates, we would have, 56 or 58 or maybe 60 chromosomes. How do you lose 2 chromosomes and get better? It really makes no sense. None of it. When you really just sit down and look at the very basics of it, none of it makes sense. We're not primates. We are not primates. To call us primates is to insult us and them, because there's just no connection. What could make something change so radically, literally overnight, in anthropological terms, and be anything remotely associated with Darwinism? I believe, personally, that the writings of the Sumerians 4,000 years ago, as chronicled by Zechariah Sitchin in his books, The Earth Chronicles, I believe that is the most logical and reasonable explanation that there is for how we came to be.
All right, there you go. That's our UFO news day. Let me jump away for a moment. I'll be right back with more news and information. Stay tuned.
Strap on your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff. You're about to go on a journey. It's First Contact Radio with Joshua Poet.
All right, very good. I am back now, and we're going to continue on with the next bit of information. Okay. Now, there's something going on that we've been talking about for a while that you need to be aware of, because it's happening today. And that we're going to start off with space weather. Now, space weather tells us here, shows us that on this website is spaceweather.com. You can see our solar wind is going at 405 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index for today is 2, and it's going to remain that way. So we're relatively low. And the chances of geomagnetic storms, though, of having some sort of M-class flare today, it's pretty high, 70% chance. But any sort of significant storms, very minor. Now here's the part that we need to address right here. This little thing right here. 2005 YU55. We've been talking about that for a while. If you notice the date here, it says November 8th. That's today. This 0.8 LD, LD stands for lunar distance. 1 lunar distance is the distance from our planet Earth to the moon. So point 8 means something is going to be closer to us than the moon is. The size over here, 400 meters, is the size of this object. Now, for the longest while, this object itself has been listed on this website as 175 meters. However, that changed last week, and it changed from 175 meters to 200 meters. On Sunday, it changed again from 200 meters to 400 meters, so it doubled in size. Now, it tells us here that NASA radars are monitoring 2005 YU-55, an asteroid the size of an aircraft carrier, as it heads on a flyby of the Moon-Earth system later today. There is no danger to our planet. At closest approach on Tuesday, November 8th, 3:28 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the 400-meter wide space rock will be 324,600 kilometers away, about 85% the distance from the Earth to the Moon. Professional astronomers are eagerly anticipating the flyby, as asteroid presents an exceptionally strong radar target. Now, as we go into this, let me just let you know. See, okay, so they have this 2005, and the thing that's curious about this is, to me, is how it has increased in its size, which tells me that really they don't understand exactly how big it is, or they've tried to keep from the public the size because they think the public would be worried. The next thing that I find quite interesting is that they refer to this as the size now of an aircraft carrier. And when I think of an aircraft carrier, I think of a ship that holds others in it, other beings. In the case of this planet, sailors, soldiers. Well, there's a lot of different ways they could describe it. And the other day I was listening to Richard Hoagland, and I hear that he also has a similar thought in mind. And probably there are many others who have the similar thought as well, that there are many ways that you could describe this object, but to describe it as an aircraft carrier could be indicative of something more than meets the eye. Now, we know that NASA, unfortunately, is not always honest. They feel that they need to keep information from the public because the public's not ready to handle such information. That's not necessarily the case. I think the public is certainly ready to know what's going on because the public, on whole, already is aware that there is. So, bottom line is, today, this object is going to be passing by the Earth. You're going to be able to go out. You might be able to see it outside if you look. It's going to be passing by 3:28 p.m. today, Pacific Standard Time. That's 6:28 on the East Coast. Now here over at the Intel Hub, it says, this comes to us from Morningstar, Robert Morningstar. Richard Hoagland sent out first pictures of YU-55, and it does not look anything at all like a typical asteroid. I took the raw image to the left side and did some enhancements to improve the image. YU-55 has an interesting geometry. The side facing the satellite telescope that captured it makes it look hemispherical or saucer-shaped, similar to the blinking craft that is seen in the famous NASA video of the broken tether experiment that drifted away and surrounded by ice crystal UFOs, according to NASA. Now I'm attaching my YU-55 photo enhancements for your study. To my eye, there seems to be too much symmetry in this object for it to be an ordinary astronaut. Let me know what you think. It looks more like a tiny moon. I just saw the trajectory on TV, and you're right. It should miss the moon by a wide margin if what was shown on CNN was accurate. And it also stated that the time of passage will be around 6:30 in the evening Eastern Time. Still seeking confirmation and a more precise ETA window. I wonder if Backyard Starry Night is tracking it yet. Robert. Now as you see this object, this is just an artist rendering, okay? But this is the object itself right here. So we get some close-up enhancements. They did a mirror image. And it is pretty good size round object, as you can see. So what exactly is this? That's the big speculation, but we're soon to find out. Now, Richard Hoagland last night was on Coast to Coast, and he said that he had some breaking news that out of Vandenberg Airport sometime between last night and today that they were going to be launching an Atlas Centaur that was going to be either a warhead or some sort of a probe. Now, he was seeking confirmation. It was just something that he had claimed he had gotten from his insiders in Washington. Now, whether you can believe an insider in Washington, well, that's still up for debate, because we hear lots of insiders in Washington that really aren't very honest. And insiders in other forms of intelligence also aren't very honest. So we're kind of left up to our own devices to figure out what this is and see what's going to happen. One thing that is going on, though, which is also a strange coincidence, is that tomorrow, on the 9th, they are running these tests of the emergency broadcast system here in this country. And these tests is going to be the first time ever it's being done like this, where the entire airwaves, cable, television, radio, are going to be taken over by FEMA to make what they claim is just a test. But here's something that is quite interesting in that regard. This comes to us from televisionbroadcast.com. Says some cable television viewers may not get the message that November 9th national test of the emergency alert system is just that, a test. Michael Powell, chief of the National Cable and Telecommunications Association, has asked test administrators to postpone it until they can figure out a fix. We are concerned that a great number of cable households will not only see an on-screen will not be seeing an on-screen message that this is only a test. He wrote this in an October 21st letter to Craig Fugate of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This raises the possibility that some viewers, particularly the deaf and hard of hearing, could mistakenly believe this test is an actual national emergency. It won't help that there hasn't been such a test in history, he notes. Also, at the same time, there is an exercise going on in the Pacific Ocean that is being done. I think it's called PacWave 11, and the whole idea of this exercise is to prepare for tsunamis. And in their own words, in their own paperwork, they say that this test could go live at any moment. How does a tsunami test become live? There's a tsunami, right? Now, is it likely that the government could actually be having some sort of false flag operation on the people? It is likely and is a possibility, because they have done this in the past. If you recall, on September 10th, FEMA was out in New York preparing for the 9/11 incident. They were preparing for this because one of them was caught saying that they were there to deal with the 9/11 situation. And we all know what happened on that next day. We were told one thing in the media, but if you really get down to doing some research, if you really want to know what went on, it doesn't take a lot of digging. You can find a wealth of information online that will bring up many questions and really put to rest the idea that this was the way that the official story was, that it is something that definitely needs more investigation. In my mind, it was an inside job, and in the minds of many others who have spent time researching it, they've come to the same conclusions. However, the mainstream media doesn't want you to believe that. Now, these false flags have gone on for quite some time, and they seem to occur at moments when the political scene is under some sort of attack, where, right now in our country, the president is having a lot of problems. People are really pointing out the inadequacies of him as a president. His ratings are extremely low. Just before 9/11, as a matter of fact, the day before, was the announcement that there were $2.1 trillion missing. And then the next day, what do you know, there happened to be something that hit the Pentagon right in the very accounting office where they were trying to figure out where that missing money was. Everything got destroyed, and now they'll never know. Strange coincidence. Here again, we have now a situation where FEMA is going to be on the scene. They're running these exercises. They're doing a test, which now they're claiming that some places aren't going to get the message that said this is a test. And we do have this asteroid going by. Now, the asteroid is going to pass by the Earth today, but tomorrow it's going to be a bit closer to the moon, and it's going to be a lot closer to the moon than it is to us. and there is some speculation that it is going to hit the moon or cause some sort of gravitational effect on the moon that will, of course, affect us, which then ties into the reason why there would be some exercises going on in the Pacific Ocean in case something does occur. So keep your eye on that, my friends. Pay attention these next 48 hours to what's going on. Remember, today, 3:28 p.m. in the afternoon is when it's scheduled to fly by the Earth. That's Pacific time, 6:28 if you're on the East Coast. All right? But whatever's going to go on, we're going to be okay. Just don't be afraid. It's just important to be informed. That's the most important part. Now, coming up is a interview with Jane Doherty. Let me bring the site up here. And she is going to be one of the presenters this weekend. Actually, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, she's going to be in Los Angeles at the conference that is taking place, the Crystal Skull Conference. There are a number of Mayans who are traveling, Mayan elders and others carrying 13 crystal skulls traveling from New York to Los Angeles with these crystal skulls to help energize different parts of the states. So let me bring up this interview for you, and I think you're going to enjoy what it is she has to say. Psychic and works with crystal skulls, and she's going to be at the Crystal Skull Conference in Los Angeles this coming weekend. And Jane, welcome to First Contact Radio. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
So, for listeners who are unfamiliar with your work, would you like to give a little introduction about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm a psychic medium, and I've been in the field probably for about 25 years. I do psychic readings. I do a lot of ghost investigations. I have a trademark, my stomach. Some people call it a ghostometer because in order for me to locate a spirit, I let my tummy do the walking first because my stomach actually expands about 3.5 to 5.5 inches as it's been measured by, media. So I do a lot of that. I do seances for spirit communication. I've written a book called Awakening the Mystic Gift. And I did have a TV show called Dead Tenants, and that is playing internationally right now. And now I have a crystal skull, 2 of them.
Okay.
And I use them in all of my work. I actually do psychic readings using the skulls. If I do a ghost investigation, you might not see the skulls, but it's always like a pocketbook over my shoulder, in my pocketbook as I walk around doing the investigation. So they're always with me in my work.
Okay. So this particular conference that you're coming to Los Angeles for is dealing with crystal skulls.
Yes, correct. It's on the crystal skulls, how, each one of us, there's several, and also will have to do with the Mayans in 2012. So it's a combination of things going on. But it is bringing about 13 crystal skulls together. It's probably the only place that you can ever find that many of the ancient sacred skulls all together is at this conference.
Okay. And you yourself have a couple of crystal skulls. How did you acquire them, and what are they?
Okay. My 2 skulls are small compared to some of the others that will be there. I acquired them in 1987 in Mexico. I had no idea, what they were, but I was walking in a store looking for something to buy to take home. When I turned the corner, I didn't see anything, but then I saw a glass case, said artifacts on it, and was locked up. And in it, I was immediately attracted to these 2 crystal skulls that were in there. And then as I approached the glass case and stood in front of it, my whole body started to tingle, and I just knew I had to have them, even though I had no idea what they were or why. And so after I got the 2 skulls, what was also in there were 2 black jaguar statues and a feathered serpent that I think a shaman probably wore around his neck. So I had to get them too.
Okay.
Now, Maya was milky white. We're using milky white quartz. You couldn't see in her except for one little spot on the top of her head that was like a postage stamp that you could look into.
Okay.
And Alden is a little bit smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and he is rutilated quartz.
And what happened first time you started to work with Maya or the first time you started to work with Alden? What were your experiences?
Well, when I first started to work with Maya, quite shocked because I didn't know anything about them. And I decided to start, at that time I had read a book, I think it was in the early 90s. I acquired them in 1987, and then in the early 90s there was a book called The Mysteries of the Crystal Skulls.
Mm-hmm.
And there was explanation in how you work with them and put your hands over them and like with energy. So I started to do that. But what happened is Maya actually moved across the dresser
Oh,
where I
wow.
was working, and that was it. I got scared. I put it away, and I didn't work with it again for several years because it was quite an experience. And then 6 months after acquiring Maya and Alden, I had a UFO experience.
Oh, wow.
And I definitely feel that it's a result of the skulls coming into my possession.
Okay. And you use these skulls when you do your psychic work?
Yes. They're, how I do it is I'll hold a person's hand. I have Maya in front of them, and I'll hold Alden in my right hand, turned upside down, because I use him almost like a dial to bring back images when I see them, so that I'll close my eyes and just use that to bring it back. And Maya is there in front of the person, so it also is like an energy boost. Sometimes Maya starts to pulsate, and the person will feel it pulsating energy out at the person. And then every now and then I might drop a person's hand if I feel like I need to get more information from Maya. I'll put my fingers in her eyes and close my eyes and receive more impressions with the skulls.
Interesting. Now, when you, there's different types of crystal skulls, and you refer to these as ancient crystal skulls. Did I hear that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the difference? What is an ancient crystal skull?
Usually there's a classification, and anything that is 1,000 years old or more is an ancient crystal skull. Something that is 100 years old, older than 100 years would be an old skull. And anything that has been carved within the last 50 to 90 some odd years would be something that would be considered contemporary. Your ancient skulls, we also call them now sacred because there have been some that you can't date them. You can't always know if they're ancient or not because so few have been actually documented in an archaeological dig. So we're tending now to begin to call them sacred. Some of what we would normally call ancient, we're calling them sacred skulls. So the term is interchangeable.
Okay.
But, there is a difference in the sense that it's what works around an ancient skull, or what worked around an ancient skull, is the energy, the spirits of the time, the information that was programmed into them, as opposed to what is carved today. They're not going to have those same spirit energies that would have been around those skulls in ancient times or in old times, as opposed to something that is contemporary.
Okay. Now, you had said with Maya that
the reason that I refer to her as used to is because she began as milky white, and today she is remarkably clear. There have been 4 times that she has actually cleared. And the first time is when I reactivated her at the pyramids in Chichen Itza in 1995. And then immediately following that, I went on a lecture tour with them. And this one gentleman started to work with her and saw it clear. But I think the most dramatic was the one that happened with a Buddhist who started to work with it. I actually saw smoke rise from the skull, and he went in with the intent of clearing her.
Oh, wow.
And the latest clearing occurred after the 10-10-10 conference.
Okay.
I look at her now, and I just keep admiring her because there's so much to see in her which was not there before. So it's very exciting for me to look into her and realize I could never do that before. But what has occurred that is certainly, different is I took a picture of her after the 10-10-10 for some cards that were being made, somebody internationally in Europe, and they needed a picture of her for their cards, that they were making a deck of cards. So I had the picture taken, and in the picture what appears is an image of a UFO.
Very interesting. Now, for those who don't know, what is the 10-10-10?
Okay. 10-10-10 was the second Crystal Skull Conference that was held in New York City. The first one was 999, and that was held in Tempe, Arizona. The second one was 10-10-10 in New York City. The title of that was the 13 Crystal Skulls. This one is the gateway because the 11-11-11, it's like gateway to the divine.
Okay. And then the 12-12-12, what is that?
The 12-12-12 will be the return to Atlantis, the area where Atlantis is, in the Miami area. We're going to be at the Miami Circle, and then from there we might be boarding a cruise ship to go to the Bahamas.
Oh, that sounds quite nice.
Yes, that's going to be exciting.
Now, is there anything about Maya that is, are there any unusual markings or something that makes her distinct?
Yes. There's a couple of things that are unusual. First of all, she has a triangle symbol for a nose rather than an anatomical representation. And there's only a few of the skulls out there that have that type of a nose, along with indentations on both sides of the skull. And then what makes her, totally unique is the fact that she has 3 rows of teeth. And as far as we know so far, she is the only one carved with 3 rows of teeth. There are some with 4, but there's none yet except for Maya with 3 rows of teeth.
And what do you think that means? Or do you know what that means?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of research, and it's rather interesting to uncover that information. It's rare, anything that has 3 rows of teeth. So you want to look at, well, why does the carver carve 3 rows of teeth and get into the carver's mind? And so they had to see something that represented 3 rows of teeth or looked like they had 3 rows of teeth. So when I did this research, I found out that the only reference to it was to Hercules, and that anyone who had 3 rows of teeth in ancient times, they believed was a supernatural hero. And the other reference to it was the amphibious gods that came from Sirius had the 3 rows of teeth. So I've just started to do that research on that, and it goes back to the Dogons, and it's so fascinating because even the hieroglyphics, the triangle comes in again, because the triangle in the hieroglyphics meant it was a symbol for tooth, and it was also a symbol for Sirius.
It's a lot of connections.
So there's a lot of connections going on, and I'm trying to uncover more, but it's certainly fascinating, what I've just learned about it.
Right. Now, is Maya named particularly because of the connection with the Mayans? Is that, or did it have its own name, or how did you name it? Where did that come about?
How she got named Maya is in 1995 when there was the solar initiation ceremonies in Chichen Itza, and she was the only crystal skull there at the time. I met a South American journalist And, she was with the Buddhists, and there was, groups of people coming to my room and holding her. And he said to me, he says, you have to name her. And I said, well, I didn't know what to say to that. And he says, why don't you name her Maya? You're here in Maya land. And that's how I named her Maya.
Okay. Now, the ancient Mayans used crystal skulls. How did they use them?
Yes, they use them in various ways. The most important thing is as an oracle for divination. Every day, the Maya, whether they were the rulers or whether they were the low subjects, they divined every day for all of their decision making. So they were used as oracles. They also used them to preserve the traditions and the knowledge of their families or tribe members by programming information in them, like a computer. Some of them used them for sacred fire ceremonies, and it also for healing. But in the healing instance, what they would do is they would go into a trance. A shaman would go into a trance in order to make contact with a deceased shaman to get information on what herb in the jungle would be good for the particular illness that he was, requesting information on. And of course, it also was used for prayer ceremonies, but to harness energy for protection and manifestation. Your power places, your power lines, is that they would use this to gather the energy and then use that in some way afterwards. Now, I feel that in Maya's eyes, and I know Einstein, which is the big one, she also feels the same way, that it looks almost as though other stones were then placed in their eyes. Okay. And what I feel is it's possible that after they collected energy, if they couldn't use it all at that moment, it's like a vessel that would collect the energy, that they might have put the stones in there simply to keep it in there, contained until they could use it again. And what also people don't know about is that they actually fought with them. They used the energy against their enemies. If they would collect the energy in it during the daytime, and they would work with it in such a way that at night, when their enemy came, they would be able to shine it in such a way, the way the laser would hit, almost like a laser, and it would create a blinding sensation, and the enemy would retreat.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yes, very. It's and even the sacred fire ceremonies. There was something that I felt when I was doing a dance on the platform in Uxmal in 1995, and the sun was hitting it in such a way that I didn't realize, it could have started a fire, because it hit me right in the gut. And when that happened, I felt something go right into me like a laser. And I knew it was the way the sun was hitting it. And then I stopped my ceremony because I knew that whatever I was doing, I didn't know enough about it, that the way the sun was hitting it, it was creating this laser-like light and energy coming from it. So I could certainly see how it started sacred fires.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you notice a difference between the energy of the different crystal skulls?
Oh, yes. Each one has its own energy because each one comes from possibly a different area. The energy would be different simply because if something was grown in Brazil or in Mexico or in Arkansas, just the crystal itself is going to have different energy. Then you're going to have different energy in the way whoever owned it or used it in ancient times, what their energy was and how they used it. And then you're going to have the energy of the guardians today mixing with the guides around them. So you're going to have a whole array of different energies. A big-sized crystal skull is going to feel differently than what mine is, because mine is small. Mine is subtle. It'll surround you. Most people will tell me it feels like love surrounding them. in that sense. So each one is going to be different. And that's what's exciting about it, because each one, I'm sure, there were common things in the way they were used, but there were also different things that a person would have used in ancient days.
So what makes a crystal skull different than just a piece of crystal?
Well, I think that what it is basically the shape of a crystal skull gives it meaning and purpose as opposed to just an ordinary piece of crystal. And what a lot of people don't realize is that your skull also meant God's protection in ancient days.
Okay.
So I think for that reason, it does. What it is, it's a symbol. And symbols can access the subconscious mind, and it's a motive. So it can create a very powerful subconscious reaction. And you can get information, more awareness of your life going into the subconscious. So I think that's the big difference.
Okay. Does it make a difference if a crystal skull is, smaller or larger?
No, there is no difference. Size does not matter. It depends upon what it was used for, and each one will have its own energy. You might be able to compare a small one like a personal computer. Maybe a small one was used more in a personal way, and your large ones were probably used more like the generators in Atlantis.
Okay.
But there isn't really a difference. It's just in what they may have been used for.
Okay. So in using your crystal skulls, and you've talked about them, first of all, how old do you think Maya is?
It's hard to say. I know Dr. Mailer, Stephen Mailer, referred to it the other night on a radio show that Maya was ancient. When he saw her, he had said that she has the same carvings of the ancient skull and the amethyst skull. And he said, I don't know if it came from the same dig, but it definitely was carved by the same carver. And so that would be probably, 1,000 years or more.
Okay. And so you've had this since 87, is that correct?
Yes, 1987.
And in using it, have you ever felt the energy of any of the previous owners of the skull?
Oh, I think yes, because if it was used in a trance, which I'm sure it was, because a lot of times it puts me into a trance. Mm-hmm. There are, on different occasions, it's almost like I'm knocked into a trance. It's not where I want to go, but it knocks me into a trance. So I know that whoever used it before probably used it for that. I would think that it had to be used even more so as an oracle because it's the natural way that I use it and how I began to use it, and that it does facilitate what I see and how I perceive and in getting that. So I know that whoever worked with it has done things like that, and I'm sure a shaman has worked with it because there have been healings that have been attributed to Maya and what works around Maya.
Okay. Now, I talked to Kirby Seed not too long ago, and one of the things we were talking about with the skulls was their ability to connect into other dimensions.
Yes.
And the possibility that you could be working with the skull and at the same time communicating someone who at that moment is in another dimension and you're engaged in a communication. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel that type of thing with the skulls as you're working with them?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think that when I go into a trance, that's exactly what happens. It's usually a extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, whatever you want to call it, will come through me and bring me a message. So that, yes, I have felt that.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times UFO and extraterrestrial now. So what do you feel is the connection between a crystal skull and what we hear of as UFOs or ultra-dimensional beings, things of that nature?
What I have found in something that has come out of me in a trance also is that they're almost like sometimes a monitoring device
Mm-hmm.
in which the extraterrestrials know what's happening, and that as more and more come out and as more and more people embrace it and want to know what this mystery is, it's also telling the other side that there's more balance going on here, and it's becoming safer for them to make themselves known. So that's how I perceive this, as also as a monitoring device.
Okay. Is it pretty natural or common amongst the community of those working with the crystal skulls to connect them with the ideas of UFOs?
No, not all of us have that same feeling. And, of course, each skull is different and each guardian is different. So not everyone connects it to a UFO. There are some of us that definitely do because they are known to show images, and a lot of times it will be an image of a UFO. But no, not all the guardians have the same feeling.
Okay. Oh,
and their skull may not have been used in that way. My skull may have been used to actually communicate interdimensionally in ancient times. So therefore, it's a natural for me to fall right into that same pattern and use it that way and develop the ability to communicate with it.
Well, that makes sense. I guess it just really depends on what that skull was created for.
Mm-hmm.
Because
exactly.
they are created with a particular purpose,
yes.
aren't they?
Yes. And remember, mine has 3 rows of teeth, and that's connected to amphibious gods that came from Sirius.
Okay.
So that may be why I have more of that inclination to speak about UFOs or to connect it with UFOs, because what it does, to me.
Right. And
because I've had UFO encounters as a result once this came into my life.
Would you like to talk about any of those encounters?
Sure. I have no problem with it. What happened is just 6 months or so after I acquired Maya in Auburn, I was teaching a course at the adult school, and it was on stress management.
Okay.
And I came out of the school, and I made one turn on a street that would take me right into my town. And about 40 minutes later, I woke up on a street, trance-like driving, coming out of this deep trance, and I saw I had missing time of 40 minutes or so. So I had no idea what had happened to me. It was not something that I embraced at that time. And I came in and remember telling my son I had a strange experience. But, of course, he simply thought it was a ghost experience. And I was extremely tired, which is not what I ever feel. It was like something that I was so drained I had to go sleep. And I was so tired that the next night I returned a call to someone who had called me to apologize for not returning his call. And he says, "What do you mean? I talked to you for a whole hour." And I had no memory of that whatsoever.
Wow.
So the only way that I could find out what actually happened to me was to go through a regression. And I think I was president of the Jersey Society of Parapsychology at the time. And a member of the society was a psychiatrist. And she insisted that I be regressed and insisted that it would be videotaped and audio taped. Today I'm grateful that she did that for me to find out what happened. And what happened is I was picked up with the car and all, and I can remember I was put on a table. I was being strapped in. There was a tall, gray-looking beings and a small, gray-looking being. But there was only one small one. All the rest were tall, gray beings. And at first I was afraid that I was going to be raped because I saw that they had a man over there in the spaceship also tied up, and I didn't know what that was. And they calmed me with their eyes. They looked right over me, looked right into my eyes. I felt the energy come in, And they assured me that that's not what was going to happen. What they explained to me that they were doing, and they put this helmet over my head, is that they were putting energy into me that would ultimately be needed, and it would be helping to change people's energies. And that was the purpose of it. And then in the regression, I then lapsed into a trance, and they started to directly speak through me. And they spoke about how there would be 3 waves before the actual full landings would happen.
3 waves before the landing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So there would be like 3. They had to prepare us, is what they said,
Mm-hmm.
in order for us not to be frightened and to be ready. So we would go through sightings of them and different types of things like that. And there would be 3 episodes of this, like periods of time.
Okay.
Before that they would then make full landings, whether we were ready or not at that time.
And what are these landings that you speak of?
Would be the billions of spaceships landing all over the world at the same time.
Okay. Do you have any idea when that time is going to occur? Are we in that time frame now?
I believe we're in that time frame now based on signs I was given and guidance I was given in 1996 as to what to watch for.
Okay.
And I believe that that's where we are now.
Okay. Well, that could certainly get a lot of people thinking, to see all kind of ships coming down and landing.
Yes, and it's that people will, and what I've been told is that people will be afraid it's the end of the world, but it is not the end of the world.
Right. Well, I could certainly see how people would think that, because Hollywood, unfortunately, likes to paint the picture that they're coming here to get you, and that's quite the opposite of what's really going on.
Exactly, and we don't really know what ETs are. We refer to them as ETs. They're really spiritual beings. I mean, they could be part of the hierarchy. They could be deceased relatives that have finished the reincarnational cycle and then go into a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Their spirit, we don't really know. So I think that Hollywood has done us a disservice by making us so afraid.
Right. Well, even Jesus talked about returning in the clouds. So either Jesus is going to come in floating on a cloud himself, or going to be in a ship that's going to be up in the clouds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I have to say that, after these different experiences I've had and the crystal skulls and all the knowledge I have now, I really had to let go of some of my very dogmatic religious beliefs. And I just had to let go of them in order to understand everything that I had been told. The other time I had an encounter, and that's why I say I'm due for another one, so if I start asking, sometimes I get it, was in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it very strange that I was asked by a British radio station to do an interview.
Okay.
And I said, okay, and I thought it was going to be on ghosts, and instead it was on UFOs. So that incident made me start thinking a week later, like, why did this happen out of the clear blue? So I'm driving to a psychic party, and I'm talking in the car to myself, mentally. And I'm saying, okay, guys, I haven't seen you in a number of years. And I said, you know how I need to see to believe that, there's that skepticism that always kind of creeps in.
Right.
And I said, I really need to see you again. It's been a while. So, okay, I let it go, and I go and I do my psychic party, and I leave the psychic party, and I turn on to this major highway. And as I turn on the second highway, I see these lights in the sky. And it's like after midnight. At first I thought it was maybe an opening of something, lights in the sky, these big lights. But then it was after midnight. It would make no sense. So I was afraid I was going to get into a car accident. So I said, all right, I see you. I'm afraid I'm going to get into a car accident. So I said, just stop showing yourself. And if you are what I think you are, then be at my house when I get there.
Okay.
I had to drive a half hour to get to my house. couldn't wait to get to my house. And I got here, and I jumped out of the car. I looked up, and I was so disappointed that they weren't there. So I went, all right, I guess it wasn't. All I did was walk to the front porch to go and let the dog out, and I turn around, and there they were over my head. And they formed a pattern of almost like an X, but there would be like an oval shape to that X.
Okay.
And I called my daughter. She came out with the dog, and every time it would go over my head, these 4 lights, the dog would be jumping up trying to reach them. And as they broke apart, then they would make another loop. So it was my daughter that said to me, "Ma, why don't you tell them to change their pattern?" So I did, and they completely changed their pattern, and they slowed it down, and then they would go up, and they would come together, stay together, then break apart very slowly without doing that loop. After 3 times, the 4th time they came together, so they formed one great big oval, and then they just went up higher into the clouds. I didn't see them anymore.
Interesting.
It was very interesting, and I sent an email to a friend who was a UFO researcher, never thinking that he was going to send this off to a scientist that studied UFO encounters. And sure enough, I got an email back about 2-3 weeks later to tell me that I indeed communicated with the UFOs, and that was a encounter that people had experienced exactly how I described it. Thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So now coming to Los Angeles, and there's this collection of all of the Guardians and the skulls, the possibility that there could be some sort of UFO experience certainly exists, and wouldn't that be a surprise to those who don't necessarily think that there's a connection?
Yes, it would be a big surprise to a lot of them, which would be a fun, fun thing. We're all growing, and that would be a growth for a lot of us. But it's only a possibility, and I have to look back to the fact that Maya now has an image of a UFO. And there's also a face in it that I'm going to be showing them in my PowerPoint presentation.
Very interesting.
So to me, there's got to be a reason that formed.
Absolutely.
It could be a message. There could be more that's going to come after the 11/11/11, more energy. And so I think that it's possible. I have extended my stay by 2 days, 3 days, actually, after the conference is over.
So in regards to the conference, what is your workshop like when people come to see you? What are they going to experience?
Okay, what I'm going to be doing is a past life workshop.
Okay.
Where I'm going to take people back to, I hope, as a group regression into an ancient life, hopefully to Atlantis or something, or to the Maya, or to Lemuria, or Egypt, one of those. Hopefully that they will go back to at a time when they may have worked with skulls, or they could have karma related to skulls, or some sort of unfinished lesson that they might uncover. Because I do feel that many of the people that are reincarnated now are probably from Atlantis, and we're redoing. And hopefully we get it right this time. Atlantis. So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm also going to be doing a progression in taking them to the future to see what they see. Okay. And then of course I'll be doing my individual sessions with readings with the skulls, or just a session for them to meditate themselves with the skulls, and any information I can give them to help them with that meditation in the session is what I will be doing.
And when is your workshop? Is it a workshop or is that...
All of the workshops and individual sessions are on Sunday after the conference is over.
Oh, okay.
So then we're still in the hotel on that Sunday doing the sessions, and I don't know. I don't know what other guardians are doing workshops. Okay.
And if somebody wants to find you, and on the web or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Certainly on the website, which is under my name, JaneDoherty.com, and that's Doherty. You could also find me on the website on Maya, which is crystalskullmaya.com. And they could email me, which would be under my name again, Jane Doherty, Doherty, at Comcast.net.
Well, very good. All right. So, Jane, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I look forward to the conference, and I'm sure that others are going to really get a lot out of coming to see you and what you have to say.
Thank you. I'm going to enjoy it myself, and hopefully helping people and giving them knowledge and exciting them with new energies, and looking forward to positive days ahead.
I'm sure there will be. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Psychic and
Well, very good. That's Jane Doherty about the conference this weekend. Just one comment on the conference. This is, when you have a collection of this type of energy that's gathered, a lot of things can come out of it. And I've been, reading through the forums and getting different perspectives that people have about what's going on, and there are mixed feelings on it. And there are certainly those who are concerned about this amount of energy and feel that it might issue in some sort of, accelerate some sort of darkness that's around on the planet. Now, while that is a possibility, because that certainly is what happened in Atlantis, I think we need to find a way to rise above that, because that might be residual fears from that time. We're at a time now where we're going through a galactic graduation. A galactic graduation, which means we step above all of that darkness that is behind us. So even though it does exist in the world that we live in, we need to be able to use our energies and the power of love and light to rise above all of that darkness and know that we can get past all of that. That this is a great time that we're in, my friends. It's not a time to be fearful or concerned or worried. It's a time to use the energies at hand and help to transmute our planet and help to raise ourselves up to the place where we really want to be, which is the next level of evolution for ourselves. It's a galactic graduation. That's why I say it all the time. All right, that being said, let's close out our show with our meditation for the day. All right, I would like you to go ahead and close your eyes, relax, and taking in mind what I just talked about with those energies, let us move our mind in the way of clearing out the old patterns of darkness and clearing out the old patterns of doubts and fears and replacing them with love. So see yourself walking along the path. See others walking along the path as well. And as you're walking along the path, and you're looking at the faces of everybody else walking along the path next to you, see if you can notice those places where there are doubts and fears. The places where there is darkness. And let's just imagine activating the light within each one of us and sending it out amongst everybody along this path. Let's imagine all of our chakras being activated. So imagine the chakra at the bottom of your spine. The color of it is red. And imagine this red color chakra being activated, drawing the energy of the earth, and then raise that energy up to the chakra above it. And the color of that chakra is orange. And raise that energy up from that chakra, the second chakra, right at the belly button, to the third chakra, which is just below the rib cage, and there that chakra is yellow. And from there, raise the energy up higher to the heart, and imagine the color green at the heart chakra. This is the chakra of love. And then send the energy up to the next chakra, the chakra of communication at the throat. Imagine the color blue. And from the blue throat chakra, raise that energy up higher to the chakra above it at the third eye, which is just between the two eyebrows, above the bridge of the nose, imagine the color violet. And then from there, send the energy up to the top of your head, to your crown chakra. Imagine the color indigo and see the light continuing on into the cosmos as bright white light. And you're connected above and below, and all this energy is flowing through you. And just imagine this energy now as it overflows your body, moving out to all of the others on the path, sending this light of love and protection outward. Imagine this multicolored energy from our chakras just going out. And as it does, see the darkness dissipate. Actually see it rising and lifting off of every individual along the path. And as it slowly dissipates and floats upward, notice that the love being projected from everyone takes this darkness and turns it into light. Imagine seeing all the doubts and the fears being lifted off of each and every one. And imagine these fears being transformed into love. And as you continue to walk along this path, share this love and this light with the planet. Send this love down into the earth, and as you do, imagine the earth smiling back, sending love and light back to you. Imagine sending this love and light up into the cosmos. Notice the planets and the stars, the sun and the moon shining and smiling down upon you. Imagine the space brothers and sisters of the star nations sending love and light down to you as well, recognizing that you are recognizing your own power as you walk along the path. And as you and everyone along the path are walking, and you're allowing this darkness to dissipate, notice the looks on people's faces have changed to looks of happiness and relaxation, because the doubts and the fears are gone. And know in your heart of hearts that when we allow love to take over, all those fears dissipate. When we allow light to fill our lives, the darkness is gone. And in the love and in the light, there is much clarity about who we are, where we are going, what we are doing. And in that clarity, we find the opportunity to create things anew, to have that fresh start, to take that step of galactic graduation that we are all destined to take. Now let's just think a good thought for everybody in the world. And as we do so, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment, and we'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. That's it. That is our prayer, our meditation. That is our show for today. Go out into the world with clear, fresh eyes, my friend. See the possibilities that exist. There's some really interesting things taking place the next several days. Look for the opportunities to grow from these experiences. Look for the opportunities that you may not know have existed that are right a moment away. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name's Josh Poet. We thank you for being here. We'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Till then, be safe, have fun, and look to the skies. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.